Okay, we're here with Siri Dahl out in Los Angeles, California, on the set today for Adult Time and Oopsie, one of their really good, somewhat new brands. I think they're just doing phenomenal work. But Siri, earlier this month, was named a brand ambassador for Adult Time, one of the biggest, most high-profile studios in the adult industry. Tell me kind of how that came about and just what it means to you.
Yeah, so I first did like a brand ambassador stint with Adult Time in 2022, which was just like a few months long thing. And then Bree and I talked about that, and it did so well, like for both of us, that Adult Time approached me and asked if I would want to do basically the same gig, brand ambassador, but now like for a like more like permanent, it's like a non-exclusive contract. So it's just more over a much longer period of time.
Absolutely.
And that also includes like, I'm going to be directing some stuff, and I have no details to give about that because I don't know yet.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But it'll be very fun to actually like direct and be even more involved in production on that level. I'm looking forward to it.
At what point in your career did you just go from being a performer just to where you started thinking about, what are some other things I can do in this business? Because I know you've done some PA work. I mean, you're trying to dip your toes into a lot of areas.
Yeah, it was honestly, I knew that I wanted to early on. Like, I don't want to say like immediately, like, but as soon as I like experienced being on set regularly, like I knew that I wanted to get more involved in production. And it was one of those things that I was like, I'm very much like a perfectionist. So especially when I was newer to the business, I was like, I want to do that someday, but I am in no rush because like I want to really like have a good understanding of like how a set runs and how to produce something successfely, regardless, like whatever job I'd be doing. But yeah, I started shooting like in, when I was new to the industry, 2012, 2013, I started doing my own content really early on, back in the day when like OnlyFans wasn't around yet, and most girls were not producing their own content. But I launched like a subscription site pretty quick and really was into like making my own content, which is sort of, it's a little more casual, like obviously, because it's like maybe, it's usually like me and like maybe a few other people in the room. But it is still like being behind the camera and like at least like getting that, thinking that way, because it is more of like a mindset shift when you're involved in production as well as performing. You kind of like have to be on both sides.
I've been around you on set a couple of times, and I do notice that you're very inquisitive. You ask a lot of questions about behind the scenes stuff. What is it about that kind of invigorates you? I mean,
I'm just a very curious person. I'm that way about like, well, not literally everything, but like anything that I have a natural like inclination to be interested in, which tends to be just like creative projects and things like that. So I definitely have that kind of hands-on learning style where if I'm super into something, like I get very, very curious, and I have probably an endless list of like silly questions. Well, some of them are silly, some of them are good, but
it's probably hard.
There's got to be some silly ones in there.
It's probably hard for someone that's not in the industry to understand just the camaraderie and the rush maybe you get from being on set and producing something like is being done today.
It's so fun. Like the social aspect is extremely rewarding. I mean, I also live out of state, so I'm based out of Kentucky, and there's not an adult industry there. Like I think I'm the only one.
Right. So you come out here and it's kind of like a little second life, it's like a family, right? I mean,
yeah, it is. I really treasure my like on-set days, and in an era where it's like a lot of performers now don't need to rely on studio work, which is actually I think good for us, like to be in that position. I think it betters the whole industry generally, and for me, the reason that I love working with Adult Time and I continue like flying out back and forth and doing all the studio stuff is because it is a different experience being on set, and it's more like it's fun collaborating with a bunch of different people who are like creatives in the industry, and also because it's like, especially when I'm on like Stella Smutt's set or like a Bree Mills set, it's like I like love everyone on these crews, and at this point I'm like, these are my friends, and it's a really fun time.
Besides the people, and you're right, they couldn't be any nicer. what is it about adult time and just, the type of content it creates and just the overall mission that you really are impressed with?
I love the progressiveness of Adult Time's brand. I really love the care and attention that goes to talent, to like really making a comfortable space for us. Like I always feel respected and comfortable and at ease on set. Like
Right.
we're always like having fun and joking around all day. And it's like every time I leave an Adult Time set, like I'm getting like a follow-up email.
They just send out questionnaires like, how'd your experience go?
Yeah,
Things
exactly.
Like that.
Like they're asking for feedback before, during, and after the shoot. Like
Right.
so, and not only that, but like just on a more like macro level, like the progressiveness of the brand, like even just the fact that if you go to adulttime.com, like there's different like types, there's different
Genres,
orientations, different sexualities represented, like all right there. It's not like completely segregated
Yeah.
where like you have to go to a totally different URL just to see like a bi scene, and I like that. Like I'm very like bisexual, queer, like
Right.
and I'm into it.
Right. I think Adult Time, probably better than anyone, does a great job with trans talent, trans content. Today you're on the set working with Gracie Jane and LaRose, two high-level trans performers. What do you think? Why do you think? What do you think happened that made porn fans or just the public in general so much more accepting and open to that kind of content?
God, I think that's kind of hard to say because I know it's been.
Just seems like it's so
not
popular.
like overnight.
Yeah,
there
right.
was more acceptance of trans women in the industry, but I mean, we have seen like quite a shift in the last couple years, and I do think that part of it is like opening up to more feedback from talent themselves. Like especially like I know an issue, for example, when I've worked with trans women in scenes for Adult Time. A good example is like my scene that I did with Daisy Taylor, where the whole it was a girl scene with Daisy Taylor, and I was playing like this artist who was painting her, and I like seduce her, and Daisy was so excited about that scene because so often as a trans woman she's cast in a scene where she's expected to top, to like fuck someone and like and come, and it's not like for a trans woman who's like on hormones and whatever, like it can be hard to rely on that, and I know it can be kind of uncomfortable.
And there's pressure. I mean,
and Daisy was so excited because she was like, I just want to do like a real like lesbian scene, and that's exactly what we did, and the fans fucking loved it, and it was still one of my favorite scenes I've ever done.
Tell me about things you've got going on, maybe away from the industry. I know that you're really into physical fitness. You're a power lifter at one point. I think you kind of taken a step back from that, but still lifting weights, religiously.
It's a kind of ironic actually, because like I love it's still like one of my greatest loves in my life is like powerlifting, but it's the training style is hyper specific, so I kind of took a step back from that just like it was becoming a little impossible to train consistently, and that is key for that sport.
Yes.
It was getting really hard with traveling a lot to be consistent, so now I'm basically doing more bodybuilding style workouts, which is just, it's like easier to be portable
right
with that. You
can somehow in a Marriott find at least a few things
machines, I don't have to have an 8-foot deadlift platform. Like
when you were powerlifting, what lifts and exercises, or lifts I guess was incorporated?
I mean, squat, bench, deadlift that's the sport itself. But then, of course, there's like a bunch of accessory lifts that you do in there to improve your capacity for the big 3 lifts. But it's now it's like I still do the big 3 lifts, but I'm just not like trying to do a max lift on them, and I'm doing way more accessories than I used to. And cardio.
Ugh, I hate cardio.
Which I like cardio as long as it's not like boring.
Right. When you were at your peak, what were some of your maxes, like squat, bench, deadlift?
Deadlift was like 270 pounds. Bench was like 140, and squat, I hate squats.
Ugh, same.
My legs are too long. I'm not built for that. Squats are for short people. But my best squat ever after like years of like working my butt off was 210, which isn't bad.
No,
it's more than I weigh. So I was like, well, at least I did that. But it's like not, yeah, it's not like impressive for someone who's been lifting for a while.
No, still really, really, really strong. But, back to the industry, you've been in it for a while now. Some people do it 2 or 3 years, they phase out, they get, it's not for them. What's kept you going and not just going, but going at a high level?
Honestly, so a really big part of it was taking a break. I know that, like, the industry can feel, when you've been in it a while, especially because we're stigmatized as sex workers, so it is really easy to kind of, like, feel like it's very insular. And there's ways that can be good, but it can also lead to feeling a little isolated. And for me, even though that, I won't get into, like, why, like, what I took a 5-year break from the industry, and I didn't think, at the time that I took the break, I didn't think I was going to come back. And what I kind of figured out about myself in that gap was that this actually is my favorite job that I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it kind of took like having like a civilian life and finishing out my 20s, like living in a mid-sized city and working at a desk job and making still like living a life that I was quite happy with, but when it came to my work, I was so fucking unsatisfied.
Right.
Like, I was just like, this isn't, I'm sitting at a computer, like, the work itself is okay and, like, can be fun, but, like, I don't like this corporate environment, like, someone telling you what to do all day, like.
It's just an adrenaline, this is a lot of adrenaline rushes probably in this that you can't get anywhere else, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for your time today. I know you're going to have a big 2023, but you've been doing great stuff, so I look forward to keeping up with you.
Same.
Okay.